Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aries All Over the Place. So, today is a very special day. It is March 16th. By the time you're seeing this video, it's probably like July, August, maybe September. Um, but I am documenting a journey that I have chosen for myself and decided to take on, which is single motherhood by choice. And today is my very first fertility consultation. So I'm here in the parking garage getting ready to go inside. I wanted to wait to start sharing this journey. I've been documenting the whole time, but more than likely, if you're seeing this video, things are go and things are, moving forward. Obviously, I'm not going to share every single detail of everything that I'm going through or about the process, my personal process. However, I do think it's important for me to be able to document this, to be able to show my future child, to potentially help someone else out there who is over the age of 40 and desiring to be a mother. And yeah, so fertility can be a really touchy subject. It is a touchy subject for a lot of people. And, in 2026, I'm really shocked and surprised at how people do not have sensitivity when it comes to that. And they're conversing with women who desire to be mothers. I'll talk another time about why I chose this route and how I came to this decision. But for now, I'm going to go inside and ask all my questions. I've got a huge list of questions to ask um, and see what they can tell me. And once I get home, I will sit back down in front of the camera and let you guys know how the appointment went. So come along with me. Hello there, everyone. So I'm back from my appointment at the clinic. Very overwhelming, I will say, but exciting at the same time. It was a lot of information. They were very gracious to give me all of the info that I was looking for, that I guess they figured would be, normal questions. We talked about my medical history and me being type 1 diabetic, also over the age of 40, and how that would affect my fertility journey, which I already knew that I would be high risk going into this situation. Anytime you have an autoimmune disease, that's going to affect, your process with fertility, your birthing, all those things. And then also to be of the age that I am, I knew that it's going to be risky, but they didn't make it like it's impossible. I know it's not impossible because I see it every single day. And, even people who are type 1 diabetic, Halle Berry had a child at what, 45, something like that. And she's type 1. So it can happen, but you just have to be very cautious of the way that you're going about it. Now, I have been interested in pursuing IUI, which is intravene, I can never say the word, intrauterine insemination. So basically, it's like the turkey baster way, pretty much. That is what I've always thought was the best option for me, or to lean toward, because I thought that it was the cheaper route and also just easier and simpler. However, after this consultation, I have a different outlook on IVF. I kind of already was kind of more curious about IVF being a better option for me based on the fact that I know I want to have a little girl, which we'll get into that in a second when I break down all of the notes and things that I took while at the clinic. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I want to try IUI first and then go the IVF route, or if I just want to just start with IVF. I don't know. But as we all know, this could all get very pricey, very expensive. So I'm trying to think in my mind, how the hell am I pay for all of this? Um, but I'm excited to take the journey. So let me get my notebook because I'm a pen and pad girl. Get my notebook and share with you guys some of the notes and some of the questions that were answered for me. All right. So first and foremost, we talked about my medical history and my type 1 diabetes. She asked, about family history. And when I was diagnosed, I explained to her that I am late onset, which a lot of doctors sometimes don't understand or think that it's a thing because type 1 diabetes in the past used to be considered juvenile diabetes because kids would get it or you get it at a very early age. My sister did get diagnosed at a very early age, but my father's sister, me, all in our 30s when we got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. My paternal grandmother was type 1 diabetic, and I believe my dad's maternal grandmother was also type 1 diabetic. So my dad's side of the family is all up and through there. Okay. So one thing that I'm an advocate for, and probably by the time you're seeing this video, I've probably spoken a whole lot more about it on this channel, is getting people to understand the difference between type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and it not being the same thing, and it not being a self-inflicted type of situation. It's hereditary. It's nothing you could do about it. It's just the way the cookie crumbled. And yeah, so anyways, I say that to say that the very first thing that we talked about was my A1C. Now, at the time you're seeing this video, hopefully my A1C levels are where they need to be, but my A1C has been pretty high over the last few years. It is coming down, it is getting better and more controlled, but it has been an issue. Also, getting in with an endocrinologist has been hell trying to get an appointment. Okay. There's so many people out here who need endocrinology, I guess, because these doctors are not available for appointments. So that has been a doozy because my gynecologist told me a couple of years ago when I first presented this as an idea that I needed to get on an insulin pump because she said she had her most successful deliveries and pregnancies with type 1 diabetics who were on the insulin pump. I am not on the pump. I give myself shots every day. I check my sugar every day, all day. But I am trying to get in with endocrinology so that I can get a pump. All right. So that is the very first thing I have to do is to get my A1C levels down, which I can also do that with diet and exercise as well. I have to be careful though, because, with my levels and things, I don't want to get too low or have like that could be bad too. So I got to be careful with that. But getting my A1C levels down and getting on the pump is number one. So before I can even get started with testing or any of those things, they have to have letters from an endocrinologist as well as a maternal fetal medicine doctor to let them know that I have the green light to move forward with IVF, IUI, any of the treatments that they would do. So that is number one on the list, is to get in with endocrinology, get those levels down, get the letters of referral and say, yes, it's okay. So that then they can go ahead and schedule me for testing. Um, I'm also on a cholesterol pill, which is a very low dosage that I take. It's the only other medicine outside of my insulin that I take. And she said that it's not healthy for pregnancy. So my doctor will need to prescribe me something different if it's still necessary. At that point, I might not even need it anymore. She might take me off at my next appointment because it's a very low dosage. So we'll see. Some of the biggest things about like lifestyle and drinking and smoking and all those things. I don't smoke, but I do occasionally drink. I'll have, a glass of wine maybe 4 times a night. I drink coffee very heavily. I'm a heavy coffee drinker. Y'all know I love my coffee. But she said I need to pull back to 0 cups of coffee or go decaf. She said I could still have my wine, but the coffee, I have to cut it. That is going to be very hard for me, but I'm going to do it because I think it's more of a taste thing for me. So as long as I can find a dark roast decaf, I think I'll be okay. So that's what I'm rolling with that. We got more into talking about the actual IUI versus IVF. And I asked her because I've seen a couple of videos where people were going in for multiple rounds of IUI, which had me a little confused because I'm like, well, Why do you have to go in multiple times? But you do it monthly, obviously, when you're ovulating. But she said at my age, it would only be a 10% chance that I would get pregnant, like naturally, which is basically IUI, is like a natural way of getting pregnant. So they recommend that you try it out at least a couple of times a month, or definitely every month. You have to go through a couple of cycles in order to see if it works or see if it sticks. Now, when we talk about price and cost, which the financial lady is supposed to call me later, but she was kind of breaking down how it can be almost the same amount based on how many vials they would need from the sperm bank. So we'll talk about that in a second too. All right, so the next thing I have here is when we're talking about treatment, she was mentioning that there are some, like, I guess, oral treatments that you could take called Clomid or Femara. I think that's what it's called. But these are treatments that heighten ovulation. So obviously at my age, well, we don't know what my eggs are doing, but we have to do a test to see. But um, it heightens the ovulation so that you are producing more eggs every month. And this is where you're more likely to end up with possibly twins or triplets or things like that, because they can't control how many eggs get mutated or whatever with this medication. So a lot of times you can end up with multiples, but she said that this may be dangerous for me because of my diabetes. So she does not recommend me taking that pill, because it can end up like, what if I end up with like sextuplets or something like that? Like, I'm dead. Okay. So not recommended for me, but she did say either IUI or like just regular IUI or IVF would be the best options and the safest routes to go. As of today, this is how what I'm thinking. I don't know. I'm thinking that I would like to try IUI first and see if it sticks. And then if it doesn't, go the IVF route. But that depends on cost, because when she talked about how it's a 75% chance that pregnancy would be successful with IVF on the first try versus IUI, only a 10% chance. And you have to purchase more sperm to do IUI than you have to purchase for IVF. So for IVF, I would only need to purchase 2 vials from the sperm bank. Okay. They use 1 vial to do the process, and then they have 1 as backup. So it's just a backup vial. With IUI, each time I would need at least 2 vials. So they recommend you purchase at least 4 or more vials for IUI. So the sperm itself could be more expensive because you have to purchase additional vials versus for IVF, which the process of IVF obviously is going to be more expensive than IUI. So it's just kind of like weighing out the options. So that's why I say maybe it could cost less for me to purchase 4 vials for IUI, and then if it doesn't work, then I can go the IVF route. But I wouldn't go. I think I would try IUI 1 time. She did say that they could freeze and save the sperm. So that way, I'm thinking if they do it 1 time and they use 2 vials and I purchased 4, then those 2 that they're saving frozen can be used for IVF. That's just what I'm thinking. I could be wrong in my math and how I'm doing that and how that actually works, because I might have to use all 4 vials for 1 IUI round. I don't know. But if not, that's the thinking that I'm thinking, that I would just purchase 4, try IUI with the first 2. That don't work, use the last 2 for IVF. But it is good that they can freeze and save the sperm. That way, even if I do IVF and they only need that first vial for it to work and to produce those eggs or produce the embryos, then that second vial can be used for a sibling, possibly. And then I might need to just purchase 1 more vial as a backup. So, like, maybe it'd be beneficial for me to just purchase 4 vials either way, you know? So, we'll see. I did ask about IVF, and they can, with the embryos, determine the sex of the baby, but they can't create a sex of the baby. I've seen some things out there that said that they have ways that they can, like, make sure you get a girl and all this stuff. The only way that they can make sure you get a girl is if they implant you a girl. So I want a baby girl really bad. Not to say that if my baby boy is watching this right now, I love you, baby. I love you. Okay. Um, I'm happy with whatever I get, a healthy baby, but I do desire to have a girl. I can, when they do the genetic testing, and they do a chromosomal testing on the embryos to make sure that there's no issues with the baby and that the baby will be healthy, all those things. So IVF is really a safer route because you have way more control over what you're giving birth to, or who you're giving birth to, should I say. And so they can determine the sex of the embryo and then implant that embryo as long as it's healthy. So the goal would be to get a healthy girl. Okay. The goal is to get a healthy baby, period. All right. But yes, I would like to have a girl. They do have support groups for single moms by choice. So she did give me a list of a couple of different places that I can check out for that. I asked about the timeline for buying the sperm, like when's the best time to do that. She said once I get that endocrinology okay, then at that point they'll start the treatments, and then that's when I need to go ahead and get the sperm because they'll need to start doing things with the process of that so that they can extract my eggs. I need all of that before any treatment, and can't do the treatment until I have a letter from endocrine and MFM. So, yes, I can't do any of that until I have the letter from endocrine and maternal fetal medicine. They told me that in addition to, because I asked, well, if I have an MFM doctor, do I also need an OBGYN? They said yes, because they kind of graduate you from fertility clinic stuff. And then it's on the OB to take your pregnancy from that point on. And she said that they more than likely would be monitoring me throughout my entire pregnancy because of my high risk. So, yeah. So, a lot of information, great information. They gave me a folder here that's filled with a list of different doctors in the area, different endocrinologists, different gynecologists, and then how the embryo transfer works. I've got information on that. The HSG process, which is where they do all of the testing and looking around in your uterus, your cervix, and all that type of stuff. The genetic testing, which insurance does not cover any of the genetic screening, but it's only $375 out of pocket to do it. So not too bad. But they compare that along with your donor's screening. So one of the big things that they test for is CMV, which she explained to me that you want to make sure that if your donors had it or not had it, it doesn't matter as long as you've had it. But if you have never had it, then you want to make sure that your donor has also never had it. So that's something that you have to consider. And then they look at like sickle cell and all types of different diseases and autoimmune things and things like that. They test all of that and compare you side by side with your donor to make sure it's a good match and to make sure your baby will be healthy. So love it. And I got fertility counselors, a list of that in case I need some counseling and want to talk to somebody to talk through the process with, and then a whole packet on donor information, which I'm kind of scared. It's like Christmas because I'm going to look through it. They actually partner with a sperm bank that I don't prefer. I've pre-selected a donor, I guess you could say, on a different site, and I want to see that they also work closely with them. They're not affiliated with them, so I wouldn't be able to get the discounts and all the good stuff there. But I do want to see that they're on the list of people that they actually work with because I really would like to use this donor. I really would. So we'll see. So that's that. So an exciting day for me personally. I did while I was in there get a little welled up and started to get selfish in the moment, which is okay. It is okay because I'm like, oh my God, like I've wasted so much time, and but I can't cloud my mind with what happened in the past, with who in the past. Like I have to be happy and blessed that I am in a position where I can explore this option and go this route. And I just am very prayerful that I get all the desires of my heart, and that, you know, I could maybe inspire you all out there who may be going through the same thing, especially if you're type 1 diabetic like me and you're just looking for a little hope and a little, inspiration that you can to do this. Then that's the purpose of it all, right? So thank y'all for watching. I appreciate you for being here. Of course, I'm going to continue to document this journey, and I will come on again and kind of explain more how I got here to this point and what made me decide that this was what I want to do for my life, and for my future child. So, yeah. So, thank you again for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are not yet. And I will see you guys all on my next video. Okay. Bye.